The first thing I'd like to say is how important it is for so many of you that I know are sponsors of ours to be here today. In addition to that, so many of you are season ticket holders. And if we think about how important it is to the NFL or a particular NFL team, the voided word is blackout games. On a typical Sunday afternoon, 2 million people in the Carolinas watch us play. To give you some idea, it was recent that Duke played North Carolina in the ACC basketball tournament, and their ratings were quite high, and they were pleased and excited about that, and they should be. But just as a point of reference, a home game for the Carolina Panthers that is televised, there are 50% more of people in Mecklenburg County and the metropolitan area we are in watch Panther games than the Carolina Duke game, just as information to you. This is the old CBA agreement. This is the size of it. And this is the agreement that did not work for the NFL. And one of the things that happened in this agreement is that we owners agreed to this agreement only knowing really one thing, and that was that the players got 60% of the revenue, and we really hadn't worked out a lot of the other details. And it was pretty obvious pretty quickly that that was not going to work if we were going to continue to grow the sport. Now, I don't know if you know it or not, but I was involved with the new CBA agreement. And this is the new CBA agreement. And we're very specific about a lot of things, as you can see. It was one of the most complicated things that I've ever been involved in. It started actually in April of 2008 when I went to visit with Gene Upshaw and told him that this agreement was not working. And I would hope that he and I could agree that we would work towards amending this agreement. I won't tell you in quite the colorful language he told me, but he essentially told me he wasn't interested in that idea. So he said, well, what are you going to do? And I was stunned because he really never talked to me like that before. And I said, I think I'm going to see the commissioner and ask him if he will call a special meeting, and as chairman of the committee that deals with this book, I'd like to speak to the owners. And in addition to the comments Gene made to me, he said, you will not be able to get 24 votes. The players, a lot of them I know very, very, very well, were chomping at the bit, Wesley, for the uncapped year. Is that right? He said that's right. And if you know Wesley, he really means that. That was one challenge we had. And the other one was that you can't get 24 owners to vote for it because they'll never agree to a system that you have an uncapped year. Well, to make a long story short, we did have the meeting, and when the vote was taken, a lot of times we take straw polls to get some idea of where we are. But in this particular case, we took the votes, and 32 owners agreed to opt out of the agreement because it was not working. So that was step one. But from that moment on, what we've learned in, what I have learned in labor negotiations is you're dealing with people that are very experienced in labor law, which I am not. And the first meeting that I had with Mr. Kessler, who was one of the union representatives, and maybe this time is a good time to emphasize the issues that I personally had were not with the players. The issues were with the lawyers that represented the players, and there were a lot of them. On one particular day in the courthouse in Minnesota, we were sitting on one side of the table. It was the judge, me, the commissioner, John Mara, and I think it was one other owner. I can't recall who he was. And on the other side of the table were 13 lawyers and no players. And we were there to discuss the players and their rights. Well, that was an eye-opener to me, that really we talk about the players, but we were dealing with the lawyers, which led to this. And if you think in terms of almost 3 years, and that's a very intense time. And you're communicating almost daily with fellow owners that one of them, his net worth is probably more than North Carolina, not Mecklenburg County, I mean the whole state of North Carolina. And he is somewhat not recluse, but not overly responsive when you have a conversation, because I guess if you're in that situation, you don't have to have any conversation. But he turned out to be one of the best supporters of me personally. So we worked through this labor agreement. And what's significant and why I take all this time is that for the first time, all of you folks that are real NFL fans, you know for certainty we have NFL football for 10 years. And the key word is certainty. We're living in a country today that I have zero confidence in certainty for the people 400 or 500 miles north of us. And I actually don't know where all that's going. But what I do know is that we're going to be in business. We're the gold standard of sports, and we're going to continue to widen that. And I can give you a tangible example. We announced that we have a 2-year contract with ESPN TV that's in place now. We extended that 8 years. 2 and 8 is 10. And I guess you can see the similarity of a 10-year agreement and a 10-year TV contract. The value of the 10 years is almost impossible to calculate. And what it's going to benefit the players is that we have divided the revenue streams and sharing different portions. And the players get 55% of all of the TV revenue, and we get 45%. That was what we call a give to the players. So the players will benefit actually the most on these TV contracts, which is fair and reasonable, and I have no qualms with that. Now, suppose you were NBC and CBS and Fox. I have a hard time saying this with a straight face. And you knew that we were going to be meeting in a couple of weeks to talk about our new contract with CBS, NBC, and Fox. And probably someone might reference that the contract with ESPN went up 63%. Probably would mention that. And here again, that's going to benefit the players the most. Another thing about the NFL that's interesting is when I played, this was my practice helmet. Wesley, when I practiced, I wore a helmet. Which would be something new for you. And you'll notice this was the protection we had. And we hear a lot now about concussions, and we have made huge strides. This is the current Panther helmet. And you can see the inside. You can see the face mask. You can see the top of the helmet is designed differently to absorb contact. And it is amazing how much progress we've made in that area. And while I'm thinking about it, would you come in, please, sir, with Adam? Would you give that to Adam for me, please? And some of my fellow players here, and what's interesting about them being here is I'm not paying them anymore. There used to be a day when they would have all been here. And I saw Mike Skurlock somewhere, and somehow or another I don't see him here. But thank you, men, for being here today. And if we think about the NFL, I think that we try to, what I guess you would say is tweak our game and try to make it better and better every year. Back to a point of reference. When I played, there were 6 preseason games, and now there are 4. There were 6 preseason and 12 regular, which is 18. Currently, there are 4 preseason games that you do not have to tell me, I know you don't like that. So nobody needs to ask me, I got it. Who does not have it are these young men right down here. I got it, they don't got it. I would also think in terms of when I was playing, there were 36 players on the team, and now we have 53. Wesley, when I showed up to the Colts, there were 19 wide receivers, and they announced they were going to keep 3, and there were going to be 36 people on the team. And they put everybody's name up on this board, and we totaled it 19. At the top, he put 3. Well, I was from a little college in South Carolina. I didn't know anybody in the room, nobody. And at the bottom, he put 3. And the 3 meant we're going to keep 3 out of the 19. Well, 2 of the 3, one was Raymond Berry, and the other one was Lenny Moore. And I don't know if you know who Raymond Berry and Lenny Moore are. You don't even really have to. But I can tell you, you know they're in the NFL Hall of Fame. So the odds were pretty slim for me. But the fact that we have increased the rosters from like 36 to 43 to 45 to 46, so forth and so on, is to try to have our players on the field as fresh as they can be, which is to your benefit. One of the biggest things that we gave up in our negotiations with the players is what they call work rules. Now, these men right here are thinking I'm going to be crazy when they hear what I say. Wesley and Frank and Leonard, the new work rules are the following. I can't even say this with a straight face. After the season starts, Wesley, we only have 14 padded practices the whole season. That's what we dealt with. And Wesley, out of the 5 weeks of the year, we can only have 3. Wesley said, ooh, that means good. He's from Mississippi. I was with him a long time. He and I can communicate. But I will take a few minutes because I see I'm running out of time, is that we had a plan for the Carolina Panthers that started in January of 2008. It was driving me crazy that we could not have back-to-back winning seasons. And to be honest, I just couldn't take it anymore. And what we were doing was going to have to change. So we agreed that we were going to try to be the best we could in 2008 and 2009. As you know, we went to the conference championship game in one of those years and didn't work out right. But the next year we didn't have a winning season. And I said to Marty and John Fox, the head coach at the time, if we do not, we're not going to keep doing over and over what we've been doing. We're going to change. And we're going to go with younger players. And the theory in most sports, is your name Brad? Brad, the theory in most sports is for you to make the players better. That's just a little free thought for you. So if you have young players, you don't coach young players like you do Frank and Wesley and these men here that have been in the league longer. Unfortunately, in my judgment, the young players didn't get better. And we made a coaching change. And of all the coaches that we've hired, I think Ron Rivera is perfect for the Carolina Panthers. He played 9 years for the Chicago Bears. He played special teams for 5 years, which is the most favorite part of the game for me personally. And he was the starting linebacker for 4 years, and he played for the '85 Bears. And any of you know anything about football history, that means something. For him, he is very demanding on just a few things. And one of them is play hard. And if you don't play hard, you're either going to stand over with him and watch the others play, or you're going to go some other city and watch whoever it is play. He is very aggressive in his coaching. Let's see, Leonard and Cullen, you're the defensive men. He believes in freedom and playing wide open, as opposed to multiple of rules, so to speak, you have to follow. He wants the players to be free, and he wants them to play fast and furious. He is not tolerant of players that miss tackles. So I think you're going to find out not only is he a very good coach, is that he is a very humble person. He's going to be a great member of the community, and we're thrilled to have him. And I was very excited about this season until I made the mistake last night of watching the Green Bay Packers. Who will be coming here in 1 week. Now, Ron is a good coach, but I wish him well.